I want to start with a quote. This was a quote from Mayer Rothschild. He was basically the creator of the dynasty Rothschild banking system in Germany. His family was they say to this date, the wealthiest family of all time. And he had a famous quote that said, "Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws." So what he's saying there is, you give someone control over the money and their ability to create it or change it, and you give them everything, right? I'm going to be talking about cryptocurrency, all right, and more specifically Bitcoin. Now, cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, it's digital currency, all right? And I'm gonna explain how it's the antithesis of that quote. It's the exact opposite, because it's decentralized. I will show you how, like, economists like David Evans in Chicago, really popular economist, he says that the decentralization model of Bitcoin promotes financial freedom. So I'll get to that point as well. So we're going to go over what Bitcoin is, how it came to be, kind of how it works a little bit, because it's kind of detailed, not too much about that, and then finally how it promotes financial freedom. Okay, so what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is digital currency. It's money, but it's electronic, all right? Currency, let's talk about currency for a second, because currency means a lot of things to different people. Currency, one thing that you have to be a currency is you have to have a good unit of exchange, right? I want to make currency beer, and you might agree with me, but it's a pain in the butt to pack around 5,000 beers, right? Coins are a little bit simpler, right? So that's one thing that it has to be. It has to be a good unit of storage. Currency has to be a good unit of storage. We could exchange fish, but fish doesn't store very well. It kind of gets gross. And finally, the currency has to be agreed upon. You have to agree that you like to receive Bitcoin from me, and I like to receive Bitcoin from you, and then we can go on about our business, right? So, let me move to the next point. What created Bitcoin? All right, it was actually created by an engineer, they think, named Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, what's cool about this is people don't actually know if Satoshi Nakamoto is even real. They just know it was on the forums whenever they said, this is how we created it. It could be a guy, it could be a girl, it could be a group of people. But that's who created it, and it was released to the market in 2009. Okay? It uses a really complex algorithm on how it creates Bitcoin. It does. It literally makes this stuff out of a mathematical formula. But it's finite. There is only a certain amount of it can ever produce that the world will ever see. 21 million to be exact. 21 million Bitcoins. Just like gold or oil, we can't synthesize it, right? What's here on Earth that's all there is to it. So that helps it become a currency as well. Because if you just keep making it up, well, that's what centralized banks do. We'll get to that part. And here's what's brilliant about it. It records every transaction made, right? If in a centralized banking system like we're a part of, Bank of America might have its ledger, and Chase has its ledger, and this bank has its ledger. Bitcoin uses one ledger. If you and I make a transaction, that same ledger is replicated throughout the entire ledger book, throughout the universe. Okay? That's where we get into mining. There are companies and individuals, you or I could do this, and we could mine Bitcoin. And what that means is that we help keep up with these transactions. And because we help keep up with these transactions, we allow these transactions to happen very quickly. So we can leverage our own computing power to help keep the ledge book, or what they refer to as the blockchain, up to date. And we actually get incentivized and we get paid a little bit. That's what happens whenever you hear of Bitcoin mining. That's how miners make money. They help maintain the flow of these transactions. Okay, that's also where it gets peer-to-peer as well. Literally, my computer sitting over here can help maintain the the Bitcoin network. So let's get to why Bitcoin changes things. It promotes financial freedom. Okay, it removes the control of the centralized banks and it moves it into the individual. Scott Rose, one of the Bitcoin analysts out there, he explained that the value of the dollar in the United States has constantly gone down since 1913. What was used to be worth $1,000 in 1913, the equivalent of that now is about $3. Okay, that's because of inflation. All right, inflation is whenever money simply loses value. Money loses value because centralized banks, when they need money, they do three things. They make money, They tax people, we all know about that, or they borrow it, right? And whenever you just make money out of thin air, and we do it all the time, it drives the value of the dollar down. That can't happen with Bitcoin. You can't just make more of it up, right? The ability to exchange Bitcoin is very, very simple as well. I can give you some Bitcoin, you can give it to me, and we're just using our mobile phones. I can do it from a computer, I can do it from an email. There are no fees. If you were to pay for something and you didn't have enough Bitcoin, you're not going to get charged $35 from a bank for an overdraft. It doesn't happen. Thank you. They're helping me out here. If I don't have the Bitcoin to pay for it, it doesn't work. All right? I will not take your Bitcoin from you and say in 4 to 5 business days you can have access to your money. It's instant. All right? That's another reason why Bitcoin. Now, here's what's really interesting. I've said that a lot, but Bitcoin, it is permissionless. I can buy anything I want with Bitcoin as long as the other party agrees. You cannot stop me. In the last 2 years, there have been several times where centralized banks have frozen companies' funds not because they were necessarily doing something bad, they just did something that other parties didn't agree with. A perfect example is WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks did some things that a lot of people didn't like, but none of it was illegal. Every country around froze all of their accounts. You couldn't donate them money through any centralized banking system. They were frozen. They were able to collect money through Bitcoin because you cannot control it. It's decentralized. The only way WikiLeaks would have not been able to get money from Bitcoin is if we took the internet down. Okay? So, I know that's a lot of information to drill into, but I hope it's enough to pique some of y'all's interest related to it. So we covered what Bitcoin is, how it was created, and kind of how it works, and finally how it's promoting financial freedoms. So going back to my first quote, you give someone the ability to create and control money, well, you give them all the control. And it's happened before. Inflation will take over, and instead of us buying things with our money, we'll end up making forts out of it or burning it in a fire so that we can keep ourselves warm. So I encourage you to go check out Bitcoin, see what it's about. Money is only one application of Bitcoin. Think of it this way. Email was the first application of the internet. Money is the first application of Bitcoin.